The biggest question for the range day was how accurate would the Hellcat Pro be in my hands at a combat distance of 7 yards. I really needed to evaluate it on its own accord, and not with how well or poorly I shoot it, as compared to the Glock G48 and G45. The tritium luminescent front sight on the Hellcat Pro is very familiar to me, as a similar front sight is on my Glock G48. The rear sight notch, however, is different, but it did not take me long to get used to it. With the Glock G48, I needed to add a slip-on grip, but the grip texture on the Hellcat Pro feels very good in the hand, and the finger grooves are subtle, but effective for my fingers to get a good position on the grip, while the undercut at the trigger guard helped me get as high of a hold as possible. The Hellcat Pro is very reminiscent of my XDS pistols before they became XDS Mod 2s, sans the grip safety and capacity. To me, the Hellcat Pro is just a different rendition of them, but with a larger capacity. My prime concern was the trigger. I have viewed other reviews that claim that the Hellcat Pro had a heavy trigger. The trigger pull travel is typical Springfield Arms XDM, somewhat long, but I actually like that, especially if I have to back off the trigger when pulling. The trigger of the Hellcat Pro serves two purposes actually. Pulling the trigger completes the cocking cycle until the striker releases, unlike the Glock, whose sole purpose is to simply release the striker. There is a hint of pre-play when pulling the trigger until you feel slight resistance. Then, there is a brief hard wall that you come up against. Pulling through that wall renders a very crisp break with no over travel. The reset is long, and there is a definite tactile feel when it resets. There are many who cavil over a trigger, but this is not a race gun. The trigger pull weight on my Hellcat Pro came in at 7 pounds, 0.2 ounces, with a 5-pull average, and feels very similar to my other Springfield Armory pistols. I suspect that after some range time, the trigger will settle in, and I will settle in with the trigger. Recoil impulse is mild, and muzzle flip is sharp, as expected with the 9mm cartridge, but it is easily manageable, and it is very easy to get back on target. I am not the fastest shot, as I am as deliberate with my shots as I can be. Today, I was running some Magtech 115 grain FMJ, some Fiocchi 147 grain FMJ, a few Remington 124 grain FMJs, and for defensive purposes, Sig Sauer Elite Performance 147 grain jacketed hollow point.